What up, though? This is your boy Mike D, host of Wrestling from the 313. And we got a new episode. And today, my guest is one half of the Samp and Chance podcast. I got Samp here with me. Bob, what's going on, man? You all right?
Actually, beautiful brother. It's Monday afternoon. Raw is in the wings. I couldn't have asked for a better way to kind of have an appetizer before the show. Thank you
Oh,
for
yeah.
having me on.
Hey, no problem, man. Hey, it's been not a long time, but it's been about a month since we linked up. I was on you guys show, and we talked about SummerSlam, and we broke it down. So what you guys been up to since then?
Since then, man, just grinding along. If it's not family and work and things like that, we're just focused on the show. We had a couple guests that were involved in a tournament
Okay.
um, out of Quebec. You know the Mountie?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
remember him.
yeah. So we had the Mountie on the show as well to talk about it.
Oh,
And one of the ladies that was involved, Kat Moniz, she actually won the competition. So for those who don't know, it's a competition called Wrestle Academy. And
okay.
basically what they do is it's a call out to all the independent talent across Canada and the States, I guess, to come in for this kind of tournament. If you can imagine American Idol or something like that. That's what it was. It had judges, right?
Oh,
So they basically would have everyone in the ring competing against one another. And then at the end, they would critique you on your promo, your in ring ability, your gear, all these kind of different criteria that they would look at as a part of the judging. And then at the end of the night, they would determine who's moving on and who's moving, who's not going to move on. Um, AEW tie-in here, QT Marshall, who's
okay.
also good friends with Cody Rhodes and whatnot. They run that Monster Factory down in Atlanta now, right? So the grand prize was $10,000 and 3 months training at the Monster Factory with QT Marshall, Billy Gunn, and I guess if Cody's ever in there to do it, right? So,
Right.
uh, but they're the ones who own that facility, that training ground. So, yeah, no, from that. Oh, sorry, brother.
Oh,
Uh,
cool.
sorry, from that
Oh, you
perspective. Yeah,
good.
sorry, man. From that perspective, that's kind of what the whole show was based on. So we had Kat Moniz, who's from Edmonton, and
Cool.
we had her on as she was about to go into the semifinals. She won that round, and then she beat Casey Spinelli, who is also a local girl from Vancouver, but mostly in Toronto now, I think. Or
Okay.
she's an Eastern girl who was working out in Vancouver for a while, but now she's back east. Um,
Yeah.
you'll remember her if you've seen her in some of the Raws. She's sometimes the extras and whatnot. But yeah,
Okay.
Cat won. So we're hoping to get Cat back on the show at some point here to talk about that experience. So yeah, that's what we've been up to, brother man. And just boxing. We got some crazy, crazy content coming up this week
That's what's
in
up.
in our boxing portion. So guys, you guys, love the 13313, but come and check this out on Thursday on Samp and Chance. It's huge. It's massive.
Definitely we will do that. So let's just get into it real quick. Of course Chance is not here, so
Yeah.
just tell us a little bit how you guys met.
Chance and I met through a mutual friend for the Manny Pacquiao and Mayweather fight when that happened.
Okay.
Right? We met through a mutual friend. He was wearing a Macho Man T-shirt. I looked at him and I said, "Okay, I can like this guy." Right? We're watching boxing and he's wearing a wrestling shirt. I think I can get down with this dude. So from there, we just struck up a friendship. Like everything else, it grows. You water it, you nurture it, and we just kind of built up our own rapport and kind of just yeah. That I can't explain it any other way, man. I mean, we were brought together by boxing and a wrestling T-shirt, and we just kind of grew from there.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
So when did it get to a point where you guys were like, let's start a podcast?
All right. Not to get too deep on the listeners or anything, but the podcast came. I always wanted to do something when the pandemic hit. I wanted to do something along this line. Unfortunately, when the pandemic hit, I also got sick, not from COVID or anything like that. Something completely different.
Okay.
And it was very close. Like, one could say that God was about to call me home. That's how close it was.
Mm,
So going through that experience and whatnot, having felt that, knowing any minute, any minute, right? And that's for everybody in this world.
yeah.
So it just kind of struck a chord with me. And so once I kind of got over the emotions of the illness and everything, I decided that I wanted to do this podcast, and started just putting it together myself. And then one day I was just talking to Chance and said, "Hey, this is what I want to do." He goes, "Okay, I'll do it with you." Like, all right, there you go. I got my co-host. Um, and we just kind of started it off very simply. We just played with it. To be fair, I think there's about 5 episodes that were never released, that we did just to kind of learn our cadence, and learn how to feed off of each other, and
Yeah.
take cues off of each other. Right now you're doing it solo, but when you do have a co-host, or if you ever do have a co-host with you, you'll understand what I'm saying. It's just learning that cadence and learning, those vibes and that energy, how to feed off of each other. So, we launched it with Scotty Mack, who
Okay.
here in the Pacific Northwest, um, he's considered the most decorated independent wrestler in the Pacific Northwest. It just turns out he's also a good friend of mine. I did a lot of work, and did a lot of things with him down when he had his promotions here in Vancouver and stuff. So he was our first guest, and the rest is history, brother.
That's what's up. That's what's
Yeah,
up.
143 episodes later, plus all the shorts and whatnot. So we're grinding out content like nobody's business.
Hey, I'm trying to get up there with y'all. Yeah, and you guys are putting out some good content too.
No, brother, as you are too. I love your reels. I love watching you on TikTok. Honestly,
Appreciate it.
to be honest, man, the one thing that I kind of was a little, I won't say jealous, but I thought was like, shit, I wish I got that. Sorry, can we cuss?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. I'm trying not to cuss. I'm trying to cut that out of my life, but the odd time I can't help myself. I apologize. Um, sorry. So, like, what were we talking about?
Oh, you said the one thing that you
Yeah, you, my man, Flash Funk, man. I wanted to react to that so bad because I remember watching. Remember watching that promo when it actually aired live.
I remember the song, and then when I just saw the video on TikTok, because people just find stuff on TikTok and just put anything on there. So when I actually saw the video, I was just dying laughing because it was just like that lady was singing hard, and then
Oh,
it was
dude,
just
all of
like the dance steps, the whole thing was just terrible. Like, but it
brother.
was funny.
I watched it when it actually happened. Right? That's what I'm saying. So the beauty of it, because you got to keep in mind at that time YouTube didn't exist, none of these things existed. So if you
Yeah,
saw it, you saw it, and then you'd have to wait again till it came on TV again, right?
yeah, that's true.
So I mean, to the younger listeners out there, commercials legitimately was a break.
Yeah,
One
yeah,
would run to the washroom, the other would grab a snack, and the other guy would be yelling, "It's back! It's back! It's back!"
yeah,
Because we didn't have the ability to go back and watch the highlights, or oh, I can't watch Raw tonight. That's okay. I'll stream it later. No, man, you missed it.
yeah,
You missed it. I
yeah.
mean,
That's true.
so
That
yeah, that was amazing. I love what you're doing, brother. And just keep it up. You're working hard. I love everything that you're doing. The energy's great, and yeah, I wish I had got that one before you, but but if it was just us that were going for it and you got it first, God bless, brother. I'm glad you got it first, man.
I
That being
appreciate
said, that being said, I might just be that guy, just do my own reel on it. But
it.
the other one that I'd implore you to find is the British Bulldog and Sting at the beach.
Oh, I might have to look. I might have to do some research and see if I can find that
Oh, dude, the boat blew up in the water. Colonel Parker and Vader were there. It was just so cheesy and campy that you had to love it.
one. I'm gonna definitely have to find that one and
Yeah,
do a reel on that one.
for sure, brother.
So real quick, like
Yeah.
you and Samp and Chance got the wrestling boxing podcast. You guys talk about both. which one is the boxing guy and which one is the wrestling guy, or is it kind of like the same?
We're the same, bro.
Okay.
Passion wise, and I speak for myself mostly, but I you could throw chance into this as well. Um, Boxing and wrestling, I'll be honest, I was a boxing fan before I was a wrestling fan
Okay.
because my dad was a huge boxing guy, right? Um, Former amateur boxer himself, in the army and what have you. So as a kid, before I even knew what wrestling was, oh, I knew the sweet science,
Yeah.
Again, not to outdate myself or anything, but as kids, as a kid, we had this thing on ABC called ABC Wide World of Sports. They used to come on every Saturday,
Yeah. I
right?
remember that.
Okay, awesome. So within that program, you got some live things that would happen, but a lot of it was taped or pre-recorded things that
Yeah.
they kind of show on. And I remember being 4 years old, maybe, and we've had it on, and that was the Hagler and Hearns fight, round one,
Okay.
the famous round one. Hagler in his baby blue shorts, and I just like, what's this? What's this? And smash, crash, boom, and I'm like, oh my, right? Like
Yeah.
Hagler. I fell in love with Marvin. I fell in love with boxing that day. And the one thing my dad and I always had, we had Friday night fights, Thursday night fights, the shows that would come on, Tuesday night fights. So we were just watching boxing all the time. And then I was about 7 or 8 when I discovered wrestling. And then that was the end of that. So yeah. And I don't know what order Chance was in, but when it comes to both of us, we're completely proficient in both avenues.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little bit of a boxing fan. I think I was like younger. I was into it more. Mike Tyson was the guy, and he was knocking people out in the first
Mm,
round. So I think that's what drew me into boxing. I've always been a wrestling fan.
yeah.
I've been a wrestling fan since probably anywhere between the age of 3 and 5,
Oh
and it's
wow.
just been still going. Yeah, it's still just been going on to this day. Like I've seen every era just growing up,
Yeah.
and it's 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 been fun, just seeing all the characters evolve and just the history that wrestling has made in the last 20, 30 years,
Mm-hmm.
and
Well,
I've been getting a little bit more into boxing. I watch it with my wife. She's a big boxing MMA fan, so I kind of get into that more. I've been getting into that a little bit more now that since she's a fan of it. So I
yeah.
still ask her, who's like who the top fighters and stuff like that, and she'll break it down for me.
Well, if he's a big boxing fan, like I said earlier on to you, man, he's got to watch what we have coming this Thursday. That's
Okay,
all I'll
cool.
say at this point. But I told you a little bit off the air where we went down and what we did.
Okay,
This is monster. This is big.
yeah,
Read between the lines when I say monster. But yeah, we got something for the people here, man. Boxing side of it, anyway. Sorry, wrestling fans, but I'll tell you this much, brother, man, and I say this with all respect to boxing and wrestling. Boxing gives more than wrestling does in terms of our platform and what we're trying to accomplish,
yeah.
right? I don't know if you've experienced it yourself yet, but in the 2 years, almost 2 years now that we're been running this, um, boxing has given us more than wrestling has in terms of opportunity and guests. And
Okay,
we come to that realization, WWE, AEW, Impact Wrestling, even, it's very, very hard to get some of that talent on unless you have, you know. And here's the funny thing, I know some of those guys that are Impact personally.
wow,
I've met some of those guys, right? Just through Calgary and whatnot, through the different scenes here on the West Coast. But even then, oh, we have to talk to our PR team if it's okay,
yeah, yeah,
right? And that makes it hard, right? It really makes it hard. Boxing, on the other hand, a lot of these guys are promoting themselves.
yeah, yeah,
So it's from that perspective, it's been easier to get the guests for boxing. Wrestling guests. We've had some great ones. We've had bushwhackers on there. We've had we've had the Mountie on there. Those are probably our biggest per se. but we've had a lot of local talents and great talents, up and coming talents. But we won't stop trying, brother man. We know that
Oh
that's the
yeah.
goal here. So
Oh
we
yeah,
just keep working
definitely.
at it.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I one of my episodes, I had an independent wrestler, C Rex,
Yeah,
and
good
she,
episode, brother. By the way,
yeah,
really fun.
appreciate it. Thank you. And she's a
I watch
badass.
all your stuff.
Appreciate it. Same here, same here. Uh, she's a badass. You know what I'm saying? And
Oh yeah, man.
she's actually going to be in the tournament at uh, indie show here, Northwest Championship Wrestling. They're doing a women's tournament where they're going to crown their first women's champion, and
Awesome.
she's going to be in the tournament. And she had just came from the UK, and I think she's doing some work over in Canada. So,
Okay,
and
okay.
she's did a little work with Impact Wrestling as well. So, she's doing big things, and for me, I'm trying to get more independent wrestlers on the show, give them a chance to promote themselves, and just put local wrestlers on the map in my city. So,
No, 100%, man. And you're really lucky. I'll be honest, man. In terms of wrestling and having the availability, um, you you have a lot more to choose from. To be fair, just being out on the East Coast, being in Detroit as well,
yeah, yeah,
the quality of the programs that you get out that way, in terms of the big three, I guess if you want to call them the big three,
yeah.
WWE and everyone else or else. Um, so you get a lot more shows and you got a lot more people coming through your town. So yeah, man, just keep building off of that, brother, man. You're doing great.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. All right, so let's get into about to get into some AEW stuff right now.
Do it.
So of course, last month they had the All In pay-per-view
Yeah,
in England.
yeah.
They broke a lot of records and stuff, had a lot of success. What do you think about it overall? Like, what did you feel? Because I know a lot of people are trying to say that it didn't sell. It's not the what was it the largest
Well,
show?
they
It
said
said
81. They said 81,000 people sold admission, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So so that's fine and dandy, but the actual number was close to 78,
Okay, okay,
right? That's what comes out of it afterwards, right?
yeah,
So look, at the end of the day, I will never ever shit on any promotion who's trying to do something cool, right? Now,
exactly.
keep in mind the UK is always starving for big events,
Yeah, that's true.
right? So that also helps. Here's the problem I have with AEW. You come off a show like that with 81, let's just say 81,000, okay? Let's just go with what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
81,000 fans in Wembley Stadium. That's amazing. That's awesome. Good for them, right? But
Mm-hmm.
you come back to the States and you can barely get 4,000 people into the arena. I'm just saying, right?
Yeah,
And this is not new. This has been going on for a while with AEW. What you see on Dynamite and everything, if you actually go to the Twitter feeds and stuff like that, and people are taking shots of the crowd, it's literally
yeah,
everyone pushed down to that lower bowl portion, and you
yeah.
watch the camera work. The camera work won't move away from that area. The hard cam will always stay in those certain spots. You don't see how empty that arena is in essence,
Wow.
right? So that's one issue I have. The only thing I'll say about the show itself in London, and I think AEW needs to do a better job of this. Maybe we're spoiled by over 40 years of experience of production of WWE. I thought that their production, their camera cuts,
Mm-hmm.
could have been better. Whoever was in the truck needed to call better shots because, for example, the Osprey and the Osprey Jericho, there was
Mm-hmm.
a couple moments where he was supposed to do this killer move, and they pan to the crowd, or they do a wide shot. Like, why would you do that? That was my only gripe.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
I,
the card was great. It was fun.
yeah, yeah, it definitely was. I would just say, for them doing I would just give them a round of applause just for pulling off a good show like that overseas in a big stadium, and that was like their first big event. And I think that this probably will be their WrestleMania, maybe All Out. And it's kind of tricky how they had the All In pay per view and then the next week All Out.
That was a mistake.
Yeah, yeah.
That
I
was a
totally
horrible
agree.
mistake. I think just because of the way the timing of it, and it was Wembley was basically now or never sort of a deal, right?
Yeah.
And they had to jump on it. Here's something interesting for you as well, my friend, if you didn't know this. So, like WWE, they charge every city they go to, right? Did you know that?
I think you told me that.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
they charge for everywhere that they go. Like even when they went to Wales and did Clash at the Castle, Wales had to pay them about 2 to 3 million euros or pounds or whatever it is just to
Ooh.
run the show there. But the return is almost double, if not triple, back to the city after
Wow.
they've been there for a week with everything that they do there for the whole week, right?
Yeah.
Here's the interesting thing: London doesn't pay,
I heard. Yeah, yeah.
right?
And I think that's one of the reasons why they don't come to Puerto Rico like that is because is that something of
No,
that
Puerto
same?
Rico, yeah, Puerto Rico for Backlash, they paid $1.3 million to have the show there,
Wow.
but they made close to $10 to $12 million in the week that they were there.
So they got their money back plus some.
Yeah. So London doesn't charge though. You can't charge London. They don't care because
Wow.
they have tourists there 365 days a year. They don't need wrestling to bring in extra income. They're doing just fine on their own.
Yeah.
So for the WWE to run shows in London particularly, they're running it for free for them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, learn something new every day. You know.
There you go. And if you knew who the WWE's second biggest market is, I don't know if you'd guess it or not.
um, I'm just gonna throw Australia.
India.
You, yeah, because they do pretty good in India also.
Absolutely. It's America, India, Canada, and then the UK.
Damn, that's what's up.
That show that they just did recently in India, the stadium only held 5,000 fans, but over 30 million people watched it in the country.
Hmm. Woo.
Right? Now, you guys in America are close to 500 million total population, right?
Mm-hmm.
In Canada, we're about 36 million total. So, if you can imagine, that's basically the whole country of Canada watching that show,
Wow. Yeah.
population wise.
Yeah. Wow. Hey, WWE is they doing big things all wherever they go.
They're global, bro. They're
Oh yeah,
global.
definitely. And so the stick with All In, you know, we talk about the success of All In. Then there was the CM Punk situation, and eventually he ended up getting fired. What do you think about that whole incident?
That whole incident should have happened the first time it happened, and the outcome that happened now should have happened then. To be really honest, right? Um, when I think of CM Punk, I think of Vince Russo. Okay, in this regard only. Okay, no disrespect to either man. But Vince took a lot of credit for everything that happened during that Attitude Era and whatnot, and he couldn't do nothing when he was on his own. Right?
Yeah,
If Vince McMahon did not give him the mic to drop that pipe bomb, no one would have been talking about CM Punk the way they talk about CM Punk.
that's true.
To be
I agree
fair,
with that. I agree with
all
that.
right. Now, the other piece I also have on CM Punk, if you're an older wrestler, you're now that guy that people are going to come to looking for advice and things like that, then you need to be a better person backstage than you are. What image are you setting for the young talent? None of this would have flied, or sorry, none of this would have happened, or none of this would have gotten to the point where it did if this was WWE. Vince would have squashed it in a minute,
I agree.
right? I mean, I'll be honest, I lost respect for AEW after that first press conference because Tony Khan's just sitting there letting this guy shit all over your company,
Yeah,
and you look like a lost little puppy.
yeah,
Vince would never have let that happen,
yeah.
right?
See, yeah,
So
I
so
agree.
the fact that he brings him back, the fact that he gives him his own show, They create a show just for him,
Yeah.
and then for him to carry on and be the way he is. Now, I will defend Punk. Jungle Boy, the guy they involved in this incident,
Hmm.
he was wrong in a lot of ways too, man. There's no why, first off, I don't think Punk was wrong in telling him, hey, don't use real glass. That
Yeah.
was the whole thing. And then on the pay-per-view, the way Jack Perry responded to the camera saying,
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
That's what blew it up when he got backstage. Now, this is where Punk needs to be the elder statesman and show some decorum and, you know, be that guy. Be the general that you think you are. Taker would never have done this,
Oh no.
right? Stone Cold wouldn't have done it. The Rock wouldn't have done it that way. It's just it shows you the level of maturity of CM Punk. Like this guy's got a chip on his shoulder for what?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
He's
And I
burned
think
every bloody bridge that he has.
I definitely agree. And it's just like now, it's like because I keep hearing rumors that he's possibly coming back to WWE, which
Oh, of course he is. He's coming back. Absolutely. Everybody comes home,
that's true. But it's just
right?
like,
Him and Vince are friends. Don't forget, him and Vince are good friends. Him and Triple H don't like each other,
yeah,
but
you know
him
what?
and
And I was watching a promo back in the day with Triple H and CM Punk when this was when Triple H started becoming the COO, and they were talking about the whole pipe bomb promo or whatever, but you could tell like the tension between those two in the ring. They don't like each other, and I
well,
think
I absolutely don't like each other. And if you really want to make some money, there's a story to be told right there.
yeah,
I mean, we talked about it a little bit on our show, and think of it this way, man. Look, just picture this, okay? You got Vince coming out now and shitting on Triple H. Oh, just because you're my son-in-law, you think you can run the business, blah, 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 blah. I got a surprise for you, and out comes CM Punk. Okay?
yeah,
You have CM Punk right there with Triple H. Now, maybe Triple H can't work, but I'm sure they can find maybe Cody Rhodes could align himself with Triple H saying this, and this is where they can break the fourth wall a little bit, but make it into a storyline. Hey, I built that company down the road and I left it in your hands. And what did you do with it?
yeah. They could build off of that.
Right?
That would be a good story.
Because if Rock and Reigns are going to happen at Mania, what happens to Cody? This is a built in match. Cody versus CM Punk with Hunter and Vince in their respective corners would be bigger than Roman and The Rock.
Yeah, yeah.
Storyline wise, just what the promos would be, all of it, man. Can you picture? Close your eyes and picture it. Look at WrestleMania right now. Roman versus The Rock. Gunther versus Brock.
Yeah,
Have this Cody versus CM Punk. I we haven't even touched anything else.
yeah. And speaking of the dream matches that you just mentioned, uh, this will be a possible dream match at WrestleMania. So you know that Jade Cargill is leaving AEW. She's now in WWE. What do you think about that move?
I'm glad Jade didn't get into the WWE when she first came there and tried to try out for it. I think sometimes that's a blessing in disguise. Jade is a specimen, and I think she would just fit right into that roster. I would like to see her on the SmackDown side of things. I know she's coming. If she's not already there, she's at the Performance Center getting ready. So her debut, the smart debut would be SmackDown because Nia Jack coming back to Raw, she's running ramp shot there. You got a lot of big girls over there already with Rhea, with Raquel, and you throw Nia into that mix. There's enough big women over there. On the other side, the women are a little bit more smaller and quicker. Charlotte is kind of a standalone in terms of the power and everything. So you got most of the power over on Raw. I think Jade would be better suited for SmackDown. And yeah, that's the way I see it, man.
Yeah, because I keep hearing possibly her debuting at Royal Rumble,
Yeah,
and you know, we could see next year Jay Cargo against Bianca Belair.
and there you go, man. And Bianca's kind of out of the picture right now, so she's not injured or anything. She just wanted time off,
Yeah, yeah.
right? So eventually you got that. There's so many stories here, man. I'm just waiting for MJF to come over.
You said you want to see him in WWE, huh?
Look, I'm not shitting on anybody. Here's the truth of the matter, and I challenge anyone to dispute me when I say this. Right? You can fight anywhere in the world. MJF is a big name,
Yeah,
but he'll be a worldwide name once he goes over.
yeah.
Right? All the big names in AEW, where did they all come from?
Um,
Majority of
WWE.
them. There you
What?
go.
Yeah,
Right?
WWE. Yep.
Now you look at a guy like Swerve Strickland. Yeah. Swerve
Mm-hmm.
didn't spend that much time on the main roster, but he was a part of NXT. And the little that he had up there with Hit Row before he got released, the only reason people know the name Swerve Strickland and take nothing away from his talent or what he's capable of, it's that rub that he got from the Fed before he came there,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
right? Right?
yeah,
If Miro had gone from the independents over there, no one would have known who Miro is.
that's
If
true.
vice versa, you name them all. John Moxley, yeah, okay, great, John Moxley, but where did he come from? Where did they all come from?
Yep,
And
that's
guys like
true.
MJF, who are truly probably the best thing that they've created out of that show, homegrown talent, that is,
Yeah.
he'll
So
go into a different level once he moves over.
yeah, I totally agree. So real quick, so do you think with Cody leaving to go to back to WWE, Jade leaving to go to WWE, you think we'll see more?
I think people will want to try to, but I think the WWE is also really smart in how they do things. If you look at the two rosters, you got one roster that's so saturated, so deep that guys that you think should be getting pushes and stuff aren't. Like again, I use Miro as an example. This guy left WWE because he wasn't getting TV time or he felt he wasn't getting the right opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
He comes over to AEW, we barely see the guy,
That's true. Yeah.
right? There's way too much talent on that roster. And I think we're going to talk about this in a few minutes, but they can take a lesson from the WWE in terms of how to use their talent because, having all the top names and having all these guys, a handful of go past maybe 2 or 3 weeks, but then after that, they're kind of lost in the shuffle there,
Yeah, I totally agree.
right? And they don't have enough programming to kind of highlight everybody. I
Yeah,
mean, who wants to work on dark and elevation all the time? They're not even shown anywhere.
right. Yeah, I agree.
Right? So they have some lessons to learn. I think it's a great market. Look, it's a great time to be a wrestling fan, Mike. Honestly,
Oh
there's wrestling for everybody and every kind of style of wrestling that you want. If you want that 80s style TV studio wrestling, you got NWA. If you want that, and I like AEW, man. I truly do. I do like it. But that is the internet community wrestling's wrestling, right?
yeah.
Where it's basically the internet dictates what we see there. And then
Mm-hmm.
you got
Yeah,
WWE who just tells you this is what we're doing.
yeah.
That's why they're the leaders. They're global.
Oh yeah, they always gonna be the leaders. That's just like that. There's no comparison. That's like trying
No,
to compare the USFL and the NFL. You know what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely.
and like you said, there's nothing against AEW. You know what I'm
No.
saying? What they have done in under what 5 years
Yeah.
is crazy. You know what I'm saying?
It's,
But
it's crazy. But now you can see that the shine is starting to fade. The honeymoon is over, right?
yeah,
Now
yeah,
they need to figure out what to do to keep going because right now, I'll be honest, man, Tony Khan is using a lot of his dad's money, man.
yeah.
And they're not getting a lot of return back on that money right now. I don't care what anybody says. You can't put on shows like All Out and everything. Yeah, you own a football team in England. You got the Jacksonville, Jaguars on your roster, but those are his dad's entities, not his,
I I
right?
I
So
agree.
so Tony's spending daddy's money, and until Rashid Khan actually goes to take a look at the books, right? I mean, they got to start figuring it out. They need to cut that roster a bit. They need to kind of be a bit more fiscally responsible, man. It's gonna catch them.
Yeah, I totally agree. Hopefully it don't get to a situation like how WCW did because I like the fact that we got options in wrestling. You know what I'm saying?
No, we got options, but I think it's not gonna. I think they're already there. To be honest, I mean, we talked about the crowd size. We talked about all that already. I mean, that's the real thing. I mean, if you got guys up there in 6 to 7 figures that you have to pay, but you're only selling out maybe 3 to 4 thousand people in the arena, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
you're not making money. I don't care what anybody says.
yeah. I agree. And I had read something on the internet about Wrestle Dream, and I'm hearing that the attendance for that is not looking too good either.
It's only got like 4 to 5 thousand people in there right now.
Oh no, that's not good.
No,
That's
it's not, right? When they came back from Wembley and they went into Chicago for those shows, that pay-per-view had nobody in there. Like that the following weekend one. I mean,
mm-hmm.
that was probably the worst attended pay-per-view I'd ever seen,
Yeah, yeah,
right? That was a horrible card. They put that together in 2 days. No promos, nothing, no lead up. And again, they got to figure it out, man. They need to step up now. Like, the I think the days of everyone commending them and being an option and stuff like that is over. It's like we work hard to get to a certain level, right, brother? But once we get there, we have to work even harder to stay there.
definitely,
And
definitely.
they need to start working harder to fix this now. So yeah, that's my take.
All right. All right, let's switch over to WWE real quick. What did you think about The Rock's return?
As a podcaster, as both of you and I, we're in the know, right? We find out things, and yourself included, we find out things that people don't know about, and that's what makes our job fun and makes what we do fun because we're able to. Oh, there you are. You were getting a little darker, brother. Um, we were. It's still daytime here, by the way. So,
Okay.
oh bloody hell. Um, so we were. Oh, sorry about that. Um, we know who's coming back and who's the surprise guest. This one caught me off guard. I had no clue.
Yeah,
Right.
and
I thought it was awesome. To be honest, I thought it was great. I thought it was fresh because we hadn't seen him in 4 years, so that made it even more special. Right.
yeah, yeah,
The other thing that clicked in right away, and I try not to be negative, but I also know that Rock and Oprah were coming off a lot of heat for the way they were handling the Maui wildfires and everything. So a
oh
lot of
yeah,
people were giving them heat, saying that why would two billionaires like this? These were the comments that were coming out, right? Because Oprah and him did that promo together to
oh
request
yeah,
people to donate and help Maui and this and that.
yeah,
Unbeknown to a lot of people, that Oprah had bought so many acres in Maui like weeks before, this and that. I mean, I don't know, conspiracy theories, right? People are saying that people burnt the island down purposely for these investors that are coming in and to get it for next to nothing. And Oprah had bought a bunch of land in Maui previously to this as well. So I'm we're not conspiracists, but that being said, a lot of people were shitting on Oprah and The Rock for that promo they did, asking the general public to donate, especially at a time where most Americans are struggling. Most people in the world are struggling
yeah.
to make ends meet, right?
I,
There's a lot of people living in the world now hand to mouth, and like how and they were slighted by that. Like, billionaires are asking the poor people to donate, like,
yeah,
right? I mean, I get it, I understand. So a part of me thought, oh, okay, Rock is coming in to do damage control. That was my initial reaction, but then it hit me. Wait a minute, this is the first SmackDown, first WWE show that was not controlled by a McMahon entirely,
yeah, and
right?
yeah, and you could
So,
definitely tell the difference when love when things on the show aren't going right. When things aren't on the show aren't going right, you could tell that Vince McMahon kind of had his hand in it. Oh,
well, I mean, Vince is still there. Don't get me wrong; he still has his hands all over everything, right? He's still fully involved, but he can't give the final answer on certain things anymore. He has to go to Ari now.
Oh yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean? Like he
yeah,
doesn't have full autonomy anymore,
yeah.
right? Now he has to answer to someone at some point. But here's the thing, man. Ari Emanuel and Vince McMahon are, you know, tighter than tight. So I don't even think Vince has to go to him for anything if he wants to.
Nah,
He
nah.
just does his own thing as he wants to, right?
Yeah,
But I can see Endeavor's fingerprints on bringing The Rock back. I thought it was a great segment. I thought it was a lot of fun. What made it fun was how Austin Theory played his role. How
yeah.
often do you see a guy, throwing the Rock's lines back at him? The last person I ever saw that was Mick Foley do that to the
Yup,
Rock,
yup.
right?
I
So
think, and I want to say Kane may have did that one time.
backstage with him and Edge.
Yup, and I
Yeah.
or was it with him and Hulk Hogan? Because
No,
Kane did an imitation of The Rock and Hulk Hogan. Because they were in a
yes.
6-man tag against the NWO or something like that.
Yes, yes, yes. You're right. It was Rock and Hogan.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was Rock and Hogan. Yes, yes, absolutely. Thank you, sir.
Oh, no
But
problem.
no, it was a solid promo, and if you watch it like I do, I'm sure you caught this as well. You could see them planting the seeds for him and Roman already.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and I go directly to the segment of the same show because the Usos, Solo, Heyman, and The Rock never crossed paths on that show.
That
You
is
never
true.
they never saw each other, but watch back if you missed it or not, brother. This is just the way I watch wrestling, right? I'm
Okay.
watching the show and there's Heyman with Solo, and Solo never talks, right?
Mm-hmm.
He grunts, he says ah, but other than that, uh, other than releasing his inner umanga, you never really hear the brother talk.
Right.
So when he said to Paul Heyman, "Don't worry about it, I got it," and
Yeah.
he leaves, and Heyman's standing there. But who's calling the shots? Who's calling the shots? The real tribal chief, The Rock.
Hey, you could be on to something because you know what? There is it's so many twists and turns with this bloodline story, just even with Jay Uso going to Raw. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, how is that going to turn out? Is he going to win the world championship over there? Is he going to try to call himself the tribal chief? Like, what's what and what's going to happen with Jimmy? Like, what role does he play now that he's solo? And then you got Solo Sokola. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just it's
Well,
so many twists and turns, and you just don't know where they're gonna go with it. But it was good to see The Rock. You know what I'm saying? He still look like he's in good shape. He still look like he could wrestle a couple more matches or whatever. But a part of me wants to see him go up against Roman, but then a part of me is kind of like, nah. I would rather that spot go to somebody else. I understand why they want to do it because it's money. It's gonna bring people to the show, but I don't know. For me, I would like to see what happens with him and Cody. I wouldn't even mind LA Knight, but I don't think that LA Knight would beat Roman at WrestleMania.
here's the deal. I can honestly tell you, I don't think, and this is why I think him and Rock works better. Because if everyone thinks that Cody's going to get that shot, if Cody gets that shot again at Mania, it's very, very unlikely that he'll win it then as well.
You think so?
Here's how I look at it: to hold the world title as long as he has, it's not one of those things that you can fake, right? You can't
Mm-hmm.
say, "Oh, he's been champion for 5,000 days," but it's only been like 400. You know, what
Yeah,
what what the WWE, what the wrestling world loves to do, is make things longer than they actually were. Like for
yeah,
example, say you and I fought in the ring on Monday, and you broke my leg several weeks ago. This is the next week. Several weeks ago, this happened. No, it didn't happen last week.
right.
But you know what I mean? So they do
Yeah,
that a lot. But because they're actually following the timeline here, and there's something you can't like either you invest into this fully or he would have lost it by now. They want him to pass Hogan. And
yeah.
in order to pass Hogan, he has to go past Mania.
Mm.
So unless they're going to drop that completely and say, fudge it, let's just drop it. then Cody will win. But whoever he faces, if it's for the title at Mania, it's he won't drop it if they still have the plan of him holding on to it to pass Hogan. You're not going to pass Backlund, and you're not going to pass
Yeah.
Bruno,
Oh, definitely, definitely.
right?
That's like,
That time of wrestling, that era of wrestling is long gone.
oh yeah,
So
yeah,
you know the best they can do is Hogan right now.
yeah,
With the rest of the bloodline, I don't know. They had to do something there. Jimmy, Jay going over to Raw. It's kind of an interesting dynamic, but I don't know what they're playing at. Jimmy, he's kind of hanging out with the bloodline again. But what I love about them breaking up and having this turmoil, if you look at everything going on around, there's a lot of little factions popping up and now showing up a little, being a little tough, knowing that, you know,
yeah,
they can get away with it a little bit now. So this kind of interesting stuff that's going on here, man.
yeah. The faction that I'm interested to see going forward is Bobby Lashley with the Street Profits.
It might have ended before it started if we watched SmackDown.
Yeah, I saw that, but you know what? I think this is all a transition into it. This is a slow build to a heel turn. That's what it is.
I
Like,
think 100%, and they're already heel, but they still have those moments where, like Dawkins, what cost them the match.
yeah,
Like if he was real savage, he would have gotten on that right away, but he hesitated, right? So
yeah,
maybe some segments where you see Bobby beating them down and making them hard, and like, I
yeah,
could see
definitely.
what goes down. But as it stands right now, it's kind of interesting how they're playing it. But yeah, I like where they're going with that, right? So, and you know what? Throw Bianca in there at some point.
Yeah,
Hmm?
yeah, I could see that. Kind of them be like a power couple of the group or whatever. Do you think they should add bring MVP back into the mix?
No,
You think it should just stay Lashley and the Street Profits and maybe
absolutely. Because I don't know what's going on with Bobby. I don't know why he hasn't competed. Is he just playing this kind of a role now? I'm not sure. I haven't read or seen anything in regards to his own health. I think he could compete if he wanted to. I think bringing in MVP would just dilute it. They've already worked together, and that didn't work. Well, it worked for a while, but they didn't. I just don't see how MVP would work. I think he's got his hands full with Omos, and just let him
yeah.
carry on that way.
And then it's like, what is he doing with Omos? Because it's like the only time they build him as a monster is when he's going up against jobbers that's already in the ring. And then when you put Omos in a big match, he loses. You know what I'm saying? To somebody that's like half, that's not even his size, that's like half his size. So it's
Yeah,
just like they kind of killed him already, kind of like how they did with Commander Aziz that used to be in NXT.
and he's no longer with the company. Um, but here's the deal, man. I mean, here's certain guys are very susceptible to become pigeonholed,
Yeah,
right?
that's yeah,
You got a guy like Omos, and what can you really do with him? Like, forget that. Go back to Andre. By all accounts, in the world of wrestling, that man should have been world champion and retired 15 years later as world champion, right?
I agree.
Just base. What can you do with these super giants? They're amazing. They
Yeah,
truly are attractions, but you can't put a title on them.
yeah,
And the reality of it is, if he beats a Bobby Lashley, if he beats a Brock Lesnar, then what do you do?
yeah,
What can you do with them? They're just purely attractions,
yeah,
right? If you build them up to be a weakling kind of giant, and then same with Big Show. You can count the times that they've held titles.
yeah. And Big Show, I know that he was a world champion in WCW, WWE, and well ECW,
Yeah,
even
yeah.
though it was the WWE version. But I think Big Show was one of those giants that like one of those credible big men. You know what I'm saying? Like same thing with Undertaker, same thing with Kane, same thing with Kevin Nash.
Over evolution, though, over a period of time, they evolved to become that kind of character,
That's true.
right? I mean, if you think about it, when Taker first kind of came out and everything, and just his demeanor, You punch him, he get up. You punch him, he keep walking towards you. Until that started to fade, then you started to see more of the character develop. Up until then, he was just a
Yeah.
dead man. You could do nothing against him. He's
Yeah.
impervious to pain. Same with Kane. Same with Giant Gonzalez,
Yeah.
right? Only a handful of them. Kane, Undertaker, Big Show,
Great
are
colleague.
uh, Khalid, even Khalid to a certain extent. What could you do with the guy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like it's just what it is. It's the smart guys, the guys that know the business and know the psychology of the business, know how to evolve, right? So you pigeonhole yourself. You watch Seinfeld?
Nah. Nah.
Okay, okay. There's a guy on there called Kramer.
Oh yeah, yeah. I heard of
Okay,
him. Yeah.
okay. So Michael Richards can go do anything else he ever wants in his life, but he'll always be known as Kramer,
Oh yeah, definitely. Yep,
right?
that's true.
And
That
God rest this man's soul, but Screech will always be known as Screech,
that's true. I was just
right?
about to say. I was just about to say with Gary Coleman, he'll always be known as Arnold from
Arnold,
different
absolutely.
roles.
And that's what I'm saying. So you got like within TV, within movies, you got guys that are like pigeonholed as that character, no matter how hard they try to be dramatic or serious. You're always going to be bloody Pee Wee Herman,
Oh yeah, yeah,
right?
definitely. Yep,
You're always going to be Kramer. No one will ever. It's like you have to work really really hard to get out of that hole.
I agree. I agree.
And the same within wrestling. You get pigeonholed, you're stuck. You can't do nothing.
I agree. Real quick,
Yeah.
the releases. There was a lot of releases that went down Friday and Saturday. Which out of all the releases, which ones shocked you the most, and which ones that you weren't surprised of?
I wasn't surprised by all of them except Dolph.
Really?
Yeah. The reason I say that is, and I'll explain myself here. Okay. Dolph, 19 years in the business. He's been there for 19 years. He's done everything they've wanted him to do. Yeah, he might not be competing, but he has enough that he does outside the ring with the company. I always thought that, if the Miz hasn't been released yet, then Dolph wouldn't have been released yet, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, so for them to release Dolph was a big surprise, but then after researching and understanding it, because the first thing that came to my mind was when Endeavor took over UFC, how many fighters in the UFC were let go? None,
yeah, yeah.
right?
That's all. Yeah,
Right. So, but then Chance. Actually, I'll give Chance this. He kind of showed it to me a little bit, and it made sense what the cuts in WWE are, because these guys are performers. Yes, they're athletes, but they're contracted performers,
mm,
right?
okay.
So we're looking at the salaries that they're making. You got to keep in mind, guys in the UFC, yeah, outside of Adesanya, Roy or John Jones, and a couple other guys like that, most of the guys are not making more than maybe 20 to 30,000 per fight,
Man.
right? Some guys on the undercard, the prelims are making maybe $10,000, $12,000 a fight,
Mm,
right? So
mm.
those are purses. Now let's keep in mind they only get paid in the UFC when they fight. So
Oh,
if you got the guy who like Adesanya who's making $2 to $3 million a fight per se, hypothetically, I'm not, don't quote me on it.
okay.
He's only fighting maybe 2 or 3 times a year.
Yeah,
Where a guy like Dolph was probably making an upwards of 800,000 to a million, 1.1 or 1.2 million every month.
yeah.
So
That's
they needed to cut the budget. Now, I didn't really think at the first that they would cut the rosters, but in understanding how wrestling works and where all the money goes and how it's distributed, it makes sense. Everyone that was cut on that roster wasn't doing anything.
yeah.
They didn't have a spot. Um, I wasn't upset with any of the cuts. I
Uh,
was upset and I felt bad for these athletes and performers. Nobody wants to lose their job, but they're okay because with this 90-day complete clause, they don't have to worry about money. They still get paid. Everything's okay.
mhm.
Um, 2 years ago, it would have been exciting because they could have all gone to AEW.
Right.
right? But I mean, it's still an option and stuff. But I think the only guy that would benefit from AEW would be Dolph,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
His brother's there. Now you're probably thinking, why didn't I say Matt Riddle?
Oh yeah, yeah, Matt.
Why?
Why
Why?
not?
Why? Think about it, man. This guy's messed up a lot,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right?
I
I mean,
heard.
how many times do you fail drug tests,
Yeah, and
right?
then I heard he got videos out on the internet
He
also.
got dick pics showing all over town, man. Right? Like, I mean, the dude is crazy. Like, he truly seems to be the guy he is on TV. But from what I understand, he's very withdrawn. He's very quiet. He doesn't follow the traditions of being backstage. When you're backstage at a show, even in an independent show, it doesn't matter what type of show you're at. There's rules, there's unwritten rules that take place, there's unwritten rules, codes of conduct that have to be taken care of. If I walk into a dressing room, whatever show I'm at, I make sure I will shake hands with everybody.
Yeah,
It's that old school respect that exists, right? You
yeah,
go into a dressing room, now no one's going to make you tie their boots up or carry their bags, but you go in and you shake hands even if you don't like the guy. You
yeah,
go and shake their hands and introduce yourself,
yeah.
right? And
I
he
agree.
didn't do a lot of that stuff, right? So it's like a lot of guys didn't like him when he first came, but those guys who got to work with him or had programs with him, got to know him, realized that he is a good guy. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, most of the things that he did, most people would have been fired for a long time ago.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's just cost cutting, man. So I mean, yeah, I have no problem with any of the cuts. Top Dollar, I don't see why they brought him back in the first place, right? Nothing
Yeah,
against Top Dollar, but I mean, yeah, that was a mistake to bring him back in the first place as it was.
yeah. I think the one that surprised me the most, but then when I look back at it, I'm not surprised was Mustafa Ali because he wanted to leave anyway. He asked for his release and they denied it. So it kind of, him being released now that they doing the cuts, it makes sense. I was kind of surprised with Dana Brooke because she was in a little storyline and it seemed like they were trying to do something with her at NXT. But even like everything that you said about Dolph, like they weren't. I knew his time was up when they didn't even put him on the brand when they did the draft. They just made him a free agent, and I feel the same way about Shelton Benjamin too. He's just a guy that's just been sitting on the sidelines, like, and he's very very talented, and he can still wrestle. He's been in the game for years, and he can still put on good matches. I personally think that a lot of these guys should try to go to Impact Wrestling just for the strength that in AEW they're gonna get caught in the shuffle. Dolph Ziggler go there, he might say he want to be the world champion.
Dolph,
He
Dolph
may,
and Matt, Dolph and Matt, the only two guys that could probably go to AEW and actually have some success. Honestly, that's probably the only two names that from the cuts that would make it there,
yeah, and that's
right?
why I think like Impact Wrestling would be good for a lot of them because they have contenders, but you don't really know like the Motor City. One of the Motor City Machine Guns is the world champion on Impact Wrestling now. Um, I know Moose is still
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Um, PCO, I heard that he's leaving soon. I just think Impact is just it's a good opportunity for any free agent right now.
No, it's probably a viable opportunity for these guys. Absolutely. Just to comment on Dana Brooke, don't be surprised. Keep in mind, you got to keep in mind, even though she's down at NXT, she's still making top roster money,
You're right. You're right.
right? So, I
Right.
mean, think about it this way, like, okay, Mustafa is very bitter because he hurt himself and Kofi got the run that he was supposed to have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and another guy to talk about, I don't know if you know about it, if you've read Rick Boogs
Yeah.
complaining that Vince McMahon not being there derailed my career.
Yeah. Yeah. I read that too.
Okay, but what we have to understand, Rick, you hurt your knee and you were out for almost a year.
Yeah.
Now Vince has been back for 3 months. You've been back for 3 months.
That's true.
So
Yeah.
what are you saying? I again, right? Think about it. Like Chance, credit to Chance. He's the one who brought that point up earlier today. So he and I talk when we're driving to and from places, and a lot of times I say, "Shit, dude, we shouldn't be talking right now. We should be recording this." But yeah, no, full credit to Chance on that one. He brought that light. Like Luke shouldn't be saying that because Vince came back. So if he wanted to use you and continue with that, you know,
that's a real good point. That's a
yeah,
real good point. And then, like I said, just the piggyback. Like I said, Impact Wrestling would be a good opportunity because look at what Trinity is doing over there. She came in and she's already the knockout women's champion.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I definitely think that there's a lot of opportunity there for them. AEW right now, like you said, the roster is just so stacked. It's just like, okay, if Shelton go over there, he'd be a nice contender for the TNT championship or the international championship, but he's still gonna get caught in that fold because some way somebody from New Japan is gonna get a title shot, somebody from Mexico is gonna get a title shot, somebody on the roster is just they got to figure out a way to divide their stars. They got two brands. You got Ring of Honor, you got AEW. You got to figure it out.
Oh no, 100%. And again, let's look at the WWE. Their roster isn't has half as big as theirs, and everyone that was cut was not being used at all.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
That,
So, it just goes to show you. I mean, everyone says, oh, yeah, bring him over to WWE. I want to bring this guy from AEW there. But at the end of the day, there's only so many spots that you can have, right? So it's not fair to have a roster that big with 90% of that roster sitting in catering. And it's always the 6 to 7 same guys that are always on TV.
yeah. I
SmackDown, this past SmackDown, granted, LA Knight was sick, right? But
yeah,
I'm just saying, like it's really easy to make a whole show without LA Knight.
yeah. That's true.
And that's an eye opener to him. Like, oh shit, I'm the biggest thing right now. But they still are being successful without me not even being on the show.
Yeah, yeah,
So, it just you can't have an over saturated roster. It just doesn't work.
yeah. And there's a lot of guys that you look over. You look at Adam Cole. You look at Keith Lee. You look at Malachi Black. You look at Miro. These were guys that were champions over in WWE or NXT,
Yeah,
champions. And it's
yeah.
just like now Malachi Black is a trios champion. Like, why isn't he
Uh,
wrestling for the
Look,
world title?
brother, all the guys that you just mentioned, he's probably one of the few that has actually got something going on.
Yeah, yeah,
Right? At least he's on TV. He's a part of the House of Black. He's got a faction. The
yeah.
man's visible, at least, right?
That's true. That's true.
So you the other names that you mentioned, they're barely on TV,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
And I don't,
Now,
I don't know what happened to Keith Lee. Keith Lee, that was my guy, man. Like he's
yeah,
supposed to be.
I think Keith Lee's kicking himself a little bit right now too, because if he was patient and just waited a little bit, he would have been brought back,
I agree. Yeah, yep,
right? That's his own doing,
yep. And he would
right?
have been right. He would have been there with his wife.
He would have been right there with Mia, and now he probably feels weird seeing her jumping in the arms of this guy and that guy on TV. You know what I mean? Like it's just like
Yep.
some of the backstage pictures that are released, like and she's defending it, like my husband isn't upset with this. I'm like, come on, man, like brother, would you like to see your wife in the arms of another man, even if they're friends and everything's cool?
Hell no.
There you go, right? So they can talk all the shit they want and say it's okay. No, this not okay. It's
Yeah,
not okay. He made a mistake. He truly did. He's kicking himself for it. He won't admit it. He won't say it. But I believe very deep down that he just got too antsy
yeah.
and he should have just waited.
I agree.
You
I
know,
definitely agree.
right? So I mean, yeah. I mean, you look at it. Andrade. What have they done with him?
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Another guy that was an NXT champion, a United States champion, and now he's in ladder matches for Mask, and like he had a faction too, and it's just like he's another one of those guys that just got is that's caught in that shuffle.
I mean, shit, man. Ray Phoenix is getting more TV time than all of them,
Yeah,
and he
yeah,
was injured,
yup, yeah.
right?
Hell,
Like
the guy that's the guy that Darby Allen is mentoring,
Nick Wayne.
he's getting more TV time, and
Yeah,
that's crazy.
yeah. So just showing, just like what they need to fix here, man. And they need to fix it fast because we're getting to a point now where they're going to face some real problems. Like they're already facing problems,
Yup,
right? The morale, just the way it's run. This is truly, truly becoming like WCW, where the inmates are running the asylum. I thought it was cool in the beginning that, oh yeah, these guys can cut their own promos now. We get to see what we want to see. But in hindsight, you realize Vince is a genius.
yeah,
You can't let them control you can't let the asylum run show.
yup,
You can't. You have to control them. I get it now. I truly understand. Right? Like you look at some guys, oh man, why won't they let them do this? I get it. It
yup,
makes sense because
yup.
you just have to look across the street to see what they're doing over there, and it's not working, man. It's starting to not work. And here's something I'll share with you. And I had this conversation with some of the indie guys here, right?
Hmm.
And they've been up there, they've been to the upper levels and stuff like that. Maybe not got their break, but they've had the opportunity up there. It doesn't matter who you are and how much money you have. The boys and the money, it's called. The boys will always be the boys,
Oh yeah, yeah.
right?
Yup.
Right? Even though the money thinks he's a part of the boys know that he's just the money.
Oh
And
yeah,
they only bring him in so far with the boys, right?
yup.
But they make the money think they're part of the boys because he's the money,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. You're right. You're right.
Prime example of this is Tony Khan sitting there making himself look so bad in front of CM Punk,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Yup.
That's basically the boys against the money. That's just how it is, right? Yeah, you respect the guy who has the money, but at the end of the day, you don't really care.
Yeah, I agree. Yup,
I'm still gonna do what we're gonna do.
yup.
You have no say. But
Not that.
Vince will never let that happen.
Oh nah, nah. He only gonna give you so much freedom, but he still gonna put his input and what you should do. Take this out, put this in. Yeah, he's always gonna have something to say.
How can you argue with him, man? As much as, yeah, he's had his controversy and stuff like that. Let's separate that from him completely. Let's just look at Vince McMahon, the wrestling man. Yeah.
Yup.
This everything we see today is him. You and I talking right now. Vancouver and Detroit. 5 years ago, would you ever said that you would have met a guy from Vancouver? Or me say I
Oh,
met a guy from Detroit?
oh,
Right? This is because of Vince McMahon. I'm not saying he directly created this for us,
right,
but
right.
everything he's done is led up for us to be able to do these things.
Yeah, I agree. You definitely right.
Right? So shit on him as you want. Say what you guys want about Vince McMahon. And I've said my fair share of shit about him. Right? I'll
Hmm.
say this. He is outdated a little bit in terms of the people and the way things are now.
Yeah,
But I
I
think
agree.
you need that old school today, brother. I'm sorry. I'm not a political guy, but just the way the world is, I think we need a few more Vince McMahons in the show.
Hey, you know what? Hopefully that if we do, they not bribing females and all that other stuff.
Like I said, if you take everything else apart from Vince McMahon, the wrestling man, I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
look, I separate people like that, right? Like, I mean, let's say, uh, I love Tyson, okay, but as a human being, some of the things that he's done outside of the ring, that's questionable. But
yeah.
you can't deny the man in the ring,
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely.
right?
Yeah, he's gonna be purpose.
John Jones in the ring, not a fan of the man outside of the ring.
Yeah,
Who's
yeah.
that guy from Baltimore, the Ravens guy? He ran over people.
Um,
You know who I'm talking about, right?
um,
You know who I'm
the
talking
name
about.
is right on the tip of my
Yeah,
tongue.
yeah,
I
yeah,
can't
yeah.
think of his name.
But regardless of that, right? On the field, yeah, Ray Lewis.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Okay,
right, Ray
Ray
Lewis. Yeah,
Lewis on the field, yeah, untouchable. But I wouldn't want to hang out with him outside of the field.
Hey, I
right?
feel you. Yeah,
There's a lot of guys in boxing the same way. We can say Floyd, the man, is questionable, but you cannot deny him in the ring.
yeah,
From the
I agree.
musical standpoint, Michael Jackson is a musical genius, but I question the man outside of the studio.
Hey, that's fair. That's fair.
Right? So we have to separate that, right? I mean, you can't pigeonhole them as one. I mean, you look at their talent and what they do in their arena, amazing, but they're shits outside the ring.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, all right, Sam. We're gonna close things out. Before we get up out of here, did you want to push anything? Give any shout outs?
Brother, I'm just going to give a shout out to my man Mike D from the 313. Guys, you got to check out his content. It's funny as fuck. Um, that Flash Funk, that's the only thing that I wish I got before you. But other than that, guys, keep checking them out. Guys, please come and check out our page at Samp and Chance, SampAndChance. Check out our YouTube page, check out our Twitter, check out our Instagram. Go to our Insta, same address at Samp and Chance. There you'll find our link tree. Please subscribe to all our content, our channels and everything. Hit us up on YouTube. We would love it. If you guys are into the boxing, like I said, guys, we got a monster episode coming up this Thursday. You're gonna want to hit that up. Other than that, we run 2 shows a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Tuesdays is wrestling. We're gonna get into a lot of what we talked about here tonight as well. So check that out. That comes out on Tuesday night, and yeah, boxing, man. Other than that, please support the local shows that we are doing here. Support these guys. Mad love to Mike D, brother. Please
Appreciate
just
it.
support us all, man. Support everybody. And I also want to give a shout out to our man in Wisconsin, the guy with the big beard,
Crander Q.
Crander Q, man. That brother right there. I've never met a man who's wanted to share the pie with
Man,
everybody,
man,
right? So
real.
please check out that brother as well. Um, I love his content as well. Hey, this guy came for the guy to see.
Yeah.
That's just the way he does it. Like, I apologize. I'm not mocking him at all. I just love when he
Yeah.
drops that line. I'm like, oh shit, this is gonna be good. And then
Yeah.
and insightful stuff, man. Engaging. You're very engaging.
Appreciate it.
I love what everyone's doing. So yeah, guys, just like and subscribe to all our shows. Support us because we are the future of this industry.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And get on with us now because in a couple of years the car might just be too full, and we'd have to leave you behind, and we don't want to leave you behind. So get
Yeah,
on board with us now and watch a true journey of humble beginnings to the big time.
definitely, definitely.
Right? I guarantee these 3 shows that I talked about right now, they're going to be calling us for interviews soon enough.
Hey, you know what? Hey, I'm keeping my fingers crossed for y'all. Hope you guys continue to do things in the boxing and wrestling world. And like you said, it's enough for us for everybody to get out here and get their piece of the pie, man. For real.
Absolutely, and I got 2 pies, right? So I'm working 2 pies, brother. So I mean, from that perspective, look. At the end of the day, thank you everybody for supporting all our shows. Thank
Definitely.
you. Our friends and our families are one thing, but the people we don't know that subscribe to our channels, the people we don't know from anything that
Yeah.
support us are the main people that I do this for. I
Yeah.
don't do this for my friends because if
Definitely.
I look at my subscriptions and I'm people tell me not to do this, but I don't care. I'll be straight up. You look at all the people that subscribe to my stuff, I would say that 98% of the people who subscribe to all our content, I do not know.
Me too. Me
Right?
too. That's the
The
same thing. That's the same strategy I had. Instead of me trying to go to my friends and put this on my personal page where I probably had like maybe 10, maybe not even 20 followers or subscribers. You had to go to the wrestling community, man, because everybody likes something different. We all bring something different. You know what I'm saying? So
No,
That's
100%. Those numbers that you have, man. The numbers that we have are our true fans. That's what I do this for. All right,
yeah, yeah.
because I mean, we can talk about this another time, but at the end of the day, brother, thank you so much.
Oh, no problem. Thank you.
It's been a slice. I love doing this. Love to come back on, and we are going to bring you back on as well. I think
Definitely.
maybe after SummerSlam or before SummerSlam, we'll come on and do the prediction show.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll do that. We got good numbers for the SummerSlam one. So let's just keep up this trend and just keep supporting each other, man. And yeah, Samp and
Definitely.
Chance
Definitely. We're gonna have
three
to
one three.
definitely gonna have to bring you guys back on here with Chance on the show
Yes,
maybe
sir.
next time. And I got an idea for a show, to have, you, Chance, Crander Q, a
Yeah.
couple other guys, maybe we can have a conversation on who's the GOAT in wrestling, or,
No,
you know,
100%. You know what we could even do? You know what
have
we
like
can
a
do,
round table or something,
brother? We could even work it out. We could all get together and we could possibly do. And technology will allow us to do it. Why don't we have a watch along with one of the big four?
Hey, that's something we'll have to put together.
Listen, why don't we talk afterward, or we'll talk off the air? We'll put it together. Let's make this our own little project. I mean, we're kind of putting it into the universe now, unless you edit this out. But ultimately, yeah, let's work at that and kind of come up with something. Survivor Series is in November. We got a month and a half to build on it,
Okay.
and we'll work something out where we can do a live watch party and do a YouTube live.
Hey, yeah, we can do that.
And we bring all our fans together. We have Wisconsin, Detroit, and Vancouver, and whoever else on the scene.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Let's do it, man.
All right. All
All right,
right.
brother.
All right. That is it. That is the end of this episode of Wrestling from the 313. I am your host, Mike D. And once again, want to thank Samp, one half of Samp and Chance. Check out their podcast. Make sure you check out Wrestling from the 313. And I will holler at you soon. Peace.
Thank you, brother.
No problem.
Awesome.